So the world is a better place because you were here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. And I have a very special one-off, another special edition of this podcast. And it is regarding President Joe Biden deciding that he will no longer seek re-election for the president of the United States. And a lot to soak in with that one. That was announced on Sunday afternoon, the 21st. And Ryan is here with me to reflect on that. What's up, Ryan?
How's it going, Matt?
Awesome. So this is, and for those watching, you get 2 episodes on this special Tuesday. And you can check out the early week's tweet cap as well on all podcasts and platforms and YouTube.
Yes.
But yes, it was known to the nation, and it was expected amongst all the hysteria going on in our political world, was whether or not President Joe Biden would actually decide to drop out of the race. You know, pulling off an LBJ, if you will, the last president to do such a thing. And first, tell me, how did you find out about this? And then we can reflect on a legitimately historic moment.
I mean, it's Twitter. That's where all of the news of our generation breaks, right? I think everybody gets their info from their Twitter feeds. So yeah, I saw the initial letter. I think at this point everyone would know he wrote a letter and then tweeted it out, and then immediately followed it up with an endorsement of his vice president Kamala Harris, for president. Obviously that's not binding. I know there's some people who are wondering about that. It doesn't belong to anybody, but that's who he's endorsing, so that's who he supports. And so, going the next couple weeks, we'll learn more about that process. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second here. But yeah, I saw the first and then the second tweet back to back. They were within minutes of each other. They came out on my social feed.
Yeah. So the way I found out about it, so I have a lot of journalists I should say, yes, I have a lot of big Twitter journalists and Twitter names. I have a lot of people. I get the tweets sent directly to me, right?
Yeah.
I have that. And of all the people that I actually found out first about this historic moment, it was Shams Charnier, the NBA
I know.
insider.
I saw that the NBA guy reported that too.
He was the one. I just get his updates every day to follow the NBA. So, I follow him, Woj, Schefter for football, passing for baseball, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport. And Shams is one of those who is lucky enough to be on Matt Brown's radar all the time. And he was the one who broke the story to me. So shouts to Shams, big fan of him, as we have been clear on the show. But yeah, that's how I found out about this historic moment. Out on my way getting some lunch. And
also Twitter though, right?
It was his tweet. But that's who I actually found out about this from. But yeah, now that we found out, a lot of people were expecting this. And again, today is not a show to reflect on our opinions. Excuse me. Today is not our show to reflect on our opinion of the matter.
Right.
But I do want to say one opinion on the sense that I feel that it was a good decision from the president to actually decide to step down. Because let's be real, not a lot of people like him. Not a lot of people want to see him get reelected. And on the other side, there's somebody who isn't well liked, who's very polarized in Donald Trump. And a lot of people get a lot of emotional reactions from both presidents. So if one decides to take the high road and, allow his legacy to go a little more from this and do the right thing for his party, it can now at least make the next 4 months a little less stressful, depending on who is decided by the Democratic Party, by the Democrats for their convention next month. So I'm excited for that in the sense that it'll be just a little less stressful. I'm sure the fall will be a whole new thing, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. But I commend Biden on reading the room, whether he was pressurized or not. At the end of the day, it was his decision.
Yep.
no matter whether it's his wife was telling him to stay or his son or whomever, he did make the decision he ultimately makes the final decision, and he just realized this is the right thing to do. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I agree. It can't be an easy decision. Um, I mean, just think about it, especially in the case of like a Joe Biden, who's been doing this for like 50 years, which is part of the problem, by the way. But he's doing this a long time. This is like the top of your profession, right? That's, when you're a politician, theoretically, this is the big time, I guess. And so to voluntarily step aside can't be something that people in that position would do easily.
No.
So yeah, I would say, I commend him for that because, like you said, I think it's pretty clear that folks were kind of wanting this to happen. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people were. And so, as you said, both candidates are like historically not popular,
Hmm.
um, the Trump and Biden. And so, with Biden stepping aside, it gives someone else a chance. And I don't know that someone else will win. I don't know who it will be, and I don't know that whoever is picked will ultimately end up winning against Donald Trump. But it's something, right? It's not a
It's
rematch,
something
right?
different.
Exactly. We're not seeing the same thing we saw in 2020. We're not reliving that same experience. It is different, and so I do think that will be a benefit certainly to the Democratic Party because they're the ones who are putting up a different person, but
Yeah.
also to the country. You know what I mean? We're not we don't have to be as locked in. We can take it as a new thing. We can look at both candidates again without the context of the other candidate, right?
Hmm.
So we can look at everybody. It's a brand new thing. It's not a rematch. So your old opinions don't matter. This is a brand new deal. One person versus another. Here's what one person's record is, here's what the other person's record is. Who do you think is going to do best by you? So yeah, I think that it was brave to do what he did. Whether or not it was a good idea, I guess we'll find out, depending on if they lose or not. If they lose, then he might be a little bit bummed that he stepped out for no reason, but I think either way, to be honest, it was the right call. That's just my opinion. Yeah, like I said, no, we're not talking too much about opinions, but I think that it was clear. I think it was clear for a while that he was thinking about this. I know he said, "I'm not going to. I'm not going to," and you kind of have to say that until you do. You know what I mean? Like you
Oh
can't be
yeah.
like, "I
And
might drop out," because like then everyone's gonna be. You know what I mean? Like it'd be a whole frenzy. So like he said what he had to say, but I think you could tell the last few days of last week there was
hmm.
a real thought in his head of maybe I don't have to do this.
Yeah, right.
And I do think truthfully in his mind it wasn't a thought of do I have to do this. Um, I don't know. I mean, he's an old man. They both are. Both Trump and Biden are old men. But I don't know that Biden wanted to be doing this at 82 years old. You could argue he should have stepped aside earlier. I might agree with you too. But ultimately, I think he finally realized that he doesn't need to be the guy anymore. Maybe last time he did, this time he doesn't, and now America gets to pick. However, whoever ends up on the ticket, I don't, it depends. It looks like it'll be Harris. I think the recent count, it's a soft count, of course, is that 75% of the delegates she needs have already committed to voting for her on the first ballot.
Hmm.
So she's almost there, and she's still got a couple weeks before this convention or before the nomination process. And so someone else could easily jump in and try and get these folks. It is going to be an open convention technically, no matter what anyone says. But obviously, if there's only one candidate, then it's not that, you know what I mean? For now, there just remains one candidate, and that's the vice president.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there in that
Indeed.
sense. Good luck to VP Kamala Harris. If it was a one, it seems a lot of signs are pointing that she will be
Hmm.
the Democratic nominee.
Yep.
And again, it'll be pretty cool. We'll see this battle and we'll see how this all unfolds in the next 4 months.
Hmm.
But ultimately, just actually seeing a president deciding I'm good, that's pretty crazy. It hasn't been done since
I know.
1968.
Hmm.
And I feel like for us, for me, the first true presidential election that I remember was 2004, and we've just seen lots of, but we've seen a couple. We've seen Bush run a bunch, Obama run a bunch, Clinton again. It's nice to see something a little different. We reckon this is going to be our third presidential race with Donald Trump, so we'll wait till 28 for
Hopefully.
the different one. But
God, I hope so. That'd
just
be
the
something totally
historic sense,
different.
this is once again you, me, Dolo, Kara, anyone who's joined us throughout the years, another Jose, all millennials going through more historical events within this. What? Let's say, I say things got real historical after 08 with the first black president getting elected, and ever since then, something's got to happen.
Yeah, and I mean everything kicked off like 2014 is when the current state of things really
I
kind
think
of
so too. Yeah,
became
14,
what it
15.
is. I just was gonna say that I think this is a quick story. I think we're probably gonna end this. This is a shorter one, just kind of a recap of the weekend. But I had family in town yesterday, right? And so I'm in DC. I've mentioned that before, and they wanted to see the White House. Biden wasn't there, but it was the day that he dropped out. Biden's got COVID, so he's still in Delaware. But so we went and they took pictures and all that, and it was 11 o'clock at night, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and it was just very quiet. And I was just thinking, I was looking at the White House, and like you said, this is historic, but I feel like our generation, this generation that has grown up with all this history making, right? I feel like we see history as something that must be active. You have to say something. You have to be something. You have to do these things. You have to be doing to make history. And most of the time, that's probably true. But I think that hopefully this shows people that sometimes it's what you don't do that is going to matter at the end. He could have fought this the whole way. There was absolutely no way anyone, not Nancy Pelosi, not Barack Obama, whoever, could have stopped Joe Biden from running for president if Joe Biden wanted to run for president. He chose
Yeah.
not to. And so sometimes, it's better to be quiet. It's better to be, reserved. Sometimes you can do the right thing. You can even make history by not doing something. You don't always have to be the main character. Sometimes taking a step back is what's best. And so I think people, regardless of who they are, should think about that in their own lives. Do I need to be the center of every conversation that I have? Do I need to be the person taking up all of the air in the room? Or is it maybe smart every once in a while to take a step back? I don't know. That's what I found myself thinking about last night while I was looking at the White House. And honestly,
Yeah.
as forlorn as I personally was, it's a very big moment to have this happen. He seems like a good guy, whether you agree with his politics or not. He doesn't seem like a bad person. I was also in some ways kind of proud because I didn't think that a politician in 2024 could do this. Like, this is like Washington stepping aside that first time. Like, I didn't think this was possible anymore. And I think most people still don't think it's possible. And I think most people would do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like I don't think that every single person would do this. So the fact that it can still happen, as kind of melancholy as it is to think about, is also somewhat patriotic. That he really believes that what he's doing is best for the country, even if it comes at a personal loss to his own power, and so he's doing it. And yeah, that's hard to find. So yeah, whether you like his policies or not, I would say kudos to him for doing this because it's something that most politicians in both parties would never even consider.
Yeah, it really was at this time a selfless act. And hopefully we leave it at that. Nothing more gets leaked about something getting forced. Just let a nice story of a selfless act finally be a part of this narrative
Yes.
here. And I'll leave it on this before we say goodbye on one of the shorter shows of this podcast. I heard in a podcast once, W. Kamel Bell, and I understand he's very liberal, but it has nothing to do with that. So if just triggering saying that, I hope doesn't trigger some people. But he told this story, right, on Joe Rogan like 10, 12 years ago. And he made this point. He talked about somebody I've talked about a lot. Well, no, not on the show, internally. I'm a big fan of Rage Against the Machine. I love that band. I think their songs are awesome. Very, very good. And I know the irony of calling out a political band, but they were at their peak in the early 90s. They've only released like 4 albums. And the lead singer, Zach De La Rocha, he said on the podcast that he pretty much got his millions and just left. With a couple reunions here and there, he just, made it, got his millions, and then just went to enjoy life with his family. And it's rare to see celebrities, leave the spotlight like that, whether you're a politician or a movie star or a musician. And we just need more people to be like Zach De La Rocha. You are missed more. Your legacy grows a little more when you're not in our face all the time. And maybe this will help with Biden, or maybe this will just teach us in general to know when it's time to leave on top of your game, on top of your game, and then instead of just hanging on and just waiting, being like, man, I can't wait for this person to leave.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, well, another historic podcast in the works, or I should say another podcast reflecting on history in the works. Check us out also, because this is episode now 370. Check out 371 dropping today on this week's Tweet Cap, where we do talk about Wolf Blitzer and his long day after this historic event, some other TikTok trends, other great funny things. But just check out what was trending besides Biden dropping out of the race, and it'll be a great show for everybody. So check that out on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And thanks again, Ryan, to reflect on this historic decision made by the president.
Hopefully not the same time next week, but that seems to be the pattern we're having. So
July 2024, huh?
Yeah, that seems to be a weekly historic podcast, but hopefully not next week. Let's all take a little break.
Amen to that. All right, Ryan, we will see you on the Tweet Cap.
See you, Matt.